one of the frightening things about being charged with a crime is also the mystery of the system. A lot of people don't know how the system works. They don't know what they're facing, and that frightens them. So one of the first things I often do when I sit down with a client is I explain the process to them from A to Z. I make sure they understand. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of pain with sex crimes. Understandably, these are very, very serious allegations. The issue with sex crimes is even being charged with a sex crime is potentially damaging for the rest of the person's life, even in cases where they're not found guilty, because it carries a certain social stigma to it. When a victim makes allegations, we will look into the victim's background. We will look into everything and anything we can to see if the evidence is accurate, if it is reliable, if the person is telling the truth, and we will pursue the defense. Some people assume that when someone's been charged with a crime, they're guilty. My experience, over 15 years of experience, has been that's not the case. There are plenty of times when a person actually is falsely accused. Very often, I've found that they're either not guilty or the charges are overblown or exaggerated. It's potentially like poker. Sometimes it's a game of chicken, who gets scared first. My client had been charged with a sex crime, and the prior attorney had gotten him an offer of 10 years in prison, which I felt was unjustified and was unduly harsh. But there was evidence that made the case too dangerous to take to trial, because at trial he could have gotten a lot more than 10 years. The prosecutor, it seemed to me, was basing his strategy on the fact that we didn't want to take the case to trial, that it was too risky, too dangerous, and therefore he was being rather inflexible with the negotiations. They were sticking to 10 years. So I decided to turn that around on them. I said, all right, we have no problem taking this to trial. That seemed to change the dynamic of the case. And it actually, on the day of trial, they approached me and said, okay, let's do a deal. Based upon my understanding of how that particular courthouse worked, I was able to get him 4 less years, and he would be out in 4.5 years. So that's one example of how you strategize and how you push cases. Depending upon, you need to know the pressure points as well. A lot of attorneys, in order to market to their clients, they say we have a 98% success rate. But what does success rate mean in the context of criminal law? How do you define success? Does it mean you get less prison time? Does it mean that you get the person off? So I think one needs to be very wary of statistics such as 98% success rate. Frankly, they mean nothing. It's important that when you're seeking an attorney, you don't sign with an attorney just because you've been frightened or worried into signing. That's not our motto. Having said that, if you are charged with a crime, there is a certain urgency and a seriousness to what you're facing. And we do urge you to diligently pursue looking for an attorney and sitting down with us for a free consultation. During that consultation, we will provide you a great deal of information that can be tremendously useful, no matter what choice you end up making. We will do everything in our power, always, to fight for our clients' interests, to aggressively defend them under any circumstances. That's our job. Now, under certain circumstances, the evidence is strongly against the client. And at that point, it might not be in their best interest to take it to trial and potentially face a very severe punishment. In those circumstances, I will try to work with the prosecution in order to get a more lenient punishment. I will work with the family to get information about this person's background, positive attributes, character letters, so on and so forth. But still, we're pushing for something reasonable that doesn't destroy this person's life. I have a case right now where there's evidence against this young man that he did something that was a sex crime that was very problematic. But our argument is that this young man has so many other positive characteristics in his life. He's done so much good for so many people. Does it benefit society to take a person and just simply punish them as much as they possibly can for 1 or 2 stupid incidences? when this person can actually be a benefit to society if they have a chance to be rehabilitated, if they're given a second chance at some point. And I think understanding the clients and that dynamic really, really helps. It certainly creates nuance, and it creates a picture for the prosecution that this is not some animal, evil person who just be put in prison or behind bars, had the book thrown at him, but this is a person who's potentially capable of being rehabilitated. And the society needs to choose between just pure punishment and rehabilitation sometimes. And I think understanding those stories and that psychology definitely in my business has proven to be useful, and in part because I've always been curious about those things. I always push to understand why the person did something if they did. If the person is imprisoned or convicted, they potentially face serious dangers if they're incarcerated, especially if it involves allegations involving children. I push for my client to be put in a separate facility, or at least a separate group away from the general population, so his or her life is not endangered. I've learned from years of experience that every client is unique, every circumstance is unique, and that we try to sit there, understand the client. The first and most important thing inevitably is to avoid or at least reduce the risks and the amount of incarceration that they face. Because you have to understand, when somebody's facing incarceration, it doesn't just affect them. It would affect potentially their wife, children, parents. They're facing social stigma as a result of it. People often, catch wind of cases like that. Children in school I've had children in school tease my clients' children, so to speak. Sex crimes create a lot of different issues. They create a lot of stigma, a lot of pain, a lot of anxiety, and now, while technically that's not necessarily the attorney's responsibility, we do deal with that. We do stick with our clients, help them through it. Try to present a positive outlook, because very often there's a silver lining there. We have a requirement at my firm that we will return a client's phone call within 24 hours, and we do that. It's very important, no matter what the question is. I think, again, that creates a sense of trust that our work is competent, that we care, and that's because it is competent and we do care. We've had some tremendous results at the firm when you work with your clients as a team, and when the client believes in you, and certainly when the facts are also there. You can actually do some things that some attorneys might think are not so likely. But we have had very unlikely results, positive unlikely results, because I think we have that motto and we have that frame of mind at my law firm. Our goal is to keep our firm small in order to be able to focus upon the client's needs, address them properly in a timely fashion, and not necessarily view the client simply as a mechanism for making money. We'd like to think, as an attorney, we took an oath, an ethical oath, to serve our clients' interests, do so honestly, but do so competently and aggressively. And I think that's best served when you have a smaller firm. If you've been charged with a sex crime, time is of the essence. So please call us. We offer a free 1-hour consultation during which we will carefully listen to your concerns and communicate what we can do to help you and to obtain a positive outcome for your case. Thank you.